mynews.studio.
Imagine nearly 200 countries gathered in Dubai, the world's attention fixed on them as leaders agree on something that could signal the decline of the fossil fuel era.
That really sets the scene. So let's dig into what actually happened at COP28. Today's date is 2025, 11/03, for context. Back in December 2023, almost 200 nations agreed for the first time to transition away from fossil fuels. That's a significant change, isn't it? They actually named oil, coal, and gas in the agreement.
Right. And the choice of words was quite deliberate. Instead of saying phase out or phase down, they went with transition away. It sounds softer, but it's still a direct signal. Why do you think the wording mattered so much?
Because if even one country had objected, the whole deal could have fallen apart. So getting everyone on board, even with compromise language, was actually a diplomatic achievement. Still, the message is clear: shift away from fossil fuels in a just, orderly, and fair way. But what are the specific commitments in the agreement?
Well, there are some concrete targets. Countries agreed to triple renewable energy capacity and double energy efficiency by 2030. That's a big leap. There's also a push to phase down unabated coal power and to phase out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies, though only those that don't address energy poverty or support transitions. Do you think these are achievable goals?
That's the heart of the matter. Scientific assessments say we need to cut global greenhouse gas emissions by 43% by 2030, 60% by 2035, and hit net zero by 2050. The agreement does acknowledge that fossil fuels have already driven about 1.1 degrees Celsius of warming, and we can't stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius without addressing this. But are the goals enforceable?
No, and that's a central issue. The agreement isn't legally binding. There's no enforcement if countries fall short. Everything is voluntary, depending on peer pressure and periodic reviews like the global stocktake. Has this approach proven effective before?
It's a mixed record. Some countries act fast, others move slowly, often for political or economic reasons. Without legal requirements, it really depends on whether governments enact policies and invest in change. Otherwise, progress could be very uneven, especially where economies rely heavily on fossil fuels.
Another point is carbon capture and storage, CCS. The agreement allows its use. Some see this as a loophole. The idea is CCS might help reduce emissions in sectors where it's hard to eliminate fossil fuels. But critics warn it could delay investment in renewables. Is CCS ready to be scaled up quickly?
Not currently. CCS isn't proven at the required scale. If countries rely too much on it, it might actually slow the broader transition. And without clear rules, companies or governments could use CCS as a reason to keep using fossil fuels.
There's also the perspective of the most vulnerable countries, like small island developing states. They welcome the recognition that the fossil fuel era needs to end, but many feel the agreement is too little, too late. What are their main concerns?
They're facing existential threats, rising sea levels, severe weather, and economic stress. For these countries, the pace and scale of support just don't match the challenges. The Loss and Damage Fund was set up at COP28 with over $700 million pledged, but that's tiny compared to what's actually needed. Accessing finance remains a major challenge.
And keep in mind, 2023 was the hottest year ever recorded, about 1.4 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. 2024 is expected to be even warmer. The window for keeping to 1.5 degrees Celsius is closing rapidly.
So what happens now? Countries are supposed to come up with stronger climate action plans. These nationally determined contributions, by 2025, they're expected to match the 1.5 degrees Celsius target and cover all sectors and greenhouse gases. The real test will be whether countries actually step up.
COP28 also showed a shift in climate diplomacy. It's no longer just about setting targets, but about putting solutions in place. Energy systems need to change within a decade. That's a substantial challenge.
And it's not just about governments anymore. This agreement will influence where businesses invest, how infrastructure develops, and what jobs emerge. Tripling renewables and doubling efficiency by 2030 means moving a lot of resources around.
But this is only a foundation, not the finish line. Simon Steele described it as a climate action lifeline. Now, the real work is making progress, and quickly.
So the world has finally named the issue and set a path. Will countries actually follow through? And can they do it quickly enough to matter?
That's what we'll be watching. Thanks for joining us as we unpacked COP28's agreement and its implications for the planet.
Thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it out now for free.